Hello, this is Dr. Young, and I'm going to go over your week 2 assignments. Your first assignment is a case where you have to, or basically a theoretical situation, where you have to consider one of your suppliers and their ethical activities. So basically what you want to do is read this little paragraph here and answer the questions. It's 500 to 600 words. That's the range you need to stay within. And you want to post your answers in the discussion area. You want to incorporate your readings or other sources as long as they're credible. I would use the library if you're going to go outside of your text. For the first question, you're going to discuss the ethics of continuing to do business with the firm and evaluate the economic, legal, and ethical issues. And then describe how a written code of ethics might impact your decision. So that's the first part. In the second part, you want to describe any other factors you would consider in making the decision to continue or discontinue doing business with the organization. So you might want to think about other pieces of information that you might need to know before you make that decision. You can talk about that, for example, because the scenario is very short, and there's a lot of what ifs there that you need to consider. And then for the third one, the third part of the question, state the process you would follow to make your decision, provide your decision, and explain the decision-making style that you have used. And that is something that you can take from your readings as far as what style and your reasoning behind that. And then number 4 is prepare a SWOT analysis. And here's a little chart right here that kind of goes over that, but that's what you're going to use. So you can just list them, strengths, and then write that, and then in a list form if you want to, that's fine too. So that's what you want to do for this week on the discussion board. You can see there's a lot of information, and this is a kind of a large assignment for a discussion because you've really got to, in those 4 points, you're going to need a lot of information there. So just make sure that you take the time to do this assignment effectively. Of course, your grading rubric, and I'm just going to click on it anyway. I know you know what it looks like, and I will post it in a thread probably. I usually do. But I'd rather be thorough here, especially since a lot of times what I'm seeing is, missing parts of the rubric. Make sure you're following all of these in the right-hand column. And I know that I went over that on the first video for the first week, and I was very specific about it. I was very specific about the response requirements, the sources. But for maximum points, you've got to meet all of these criteria. So, just want to kind of drive that home again. Of course, you could always go back and look at that first week's video for the specific information that I gave you. Alright, for week 2, assignment 2 for this week. Week 2, assignment 2. You are going to research your company, the company you chose. You have to stick with the same company throughout the term. So, whatever you chose in the first week, we need to stick with that through the whole term. Then you need to go to the SOU library and find one source. And you're going to review your a source about it, your company. Review your assigned weekly lecture and text reading. Select from this reading 3 to 5 key concepts which will support your thesis. In a 2 to 3 page paper, address the questions below. Describe some of the key decisions its management has faced within the past year or two. So let's say I'm just going to throw one out there, Walgreens. So you need to look for information on if I were doing this assignment, I'd probably start with, I'd go to the SOU library and try to find, I would obviously type in my company name and see what I could find. Another thing I would do is probably go to just the internet and look for Walgreens news and see something big changes have occurred that involve management, any kind of leadership change, things like that. See what you can find that's current. Identify an ethical issue the organization either faces or has faced in the past. If it has not been resolved, provide an analysis of how the issue should be addressed. If it has been resolved, critique how the organization resolved this issue based on the materials you have reviewed on ethical decision making. One thing that comes top of mind, and they're still dealing with the aftermath, is the BP oil spill, and the way that the CEO acted was very inappropriate and just insensitive. And then the continuing effects on the Gulf Shore. So that can be considered depending on what perspective you take. Do they resolve it? Do they not? What's still going on? How should it be resolved? And then you could still look back and talk about how, the actions they took, after it happened, and how that should have been different. I'm just throwing things out at you, but I'm just trying to get you thinking, kind of how to approach the assignment. Okay, so this one doesn't have an expanded rubric. So I'm going to be grading on this criteria just right here. This is what I'm going to use. And this class only has one expanded rubric, it looks like, and that is for the discussion. So that's really all there is this week. If you have any questions or concerns, let me know. I'll be happy to assist you. So I think this week's always interesting. I teach ethics at other schools as well. That's very always an interesting read. What students come up with for this assignment. So just remember, you can text me and you can call me. Just please make sure to identify yourself in what class, because I can't remember everyone's name sometimes. These classes move so fast that sometimes it's just hard to, it's always a new group. So, so I just want to make sure you identify yourself. But please ask questions anytime. I'll be happy to help. Thanks. Have a great day.